Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allows you to record and edit your broadcast so it sounds great. And they even distribute your broadcast for you so that it can be heard everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So make sure you download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey y'all, this is me, Darren Frett here, the co-host of Future Education Talk. If you have not listened to part 1 of Mental Health for Students, please check out season 1, episode 9, where I talked about ways that teachers and parents can spot signs to decrease anxiety and depression. Please check it out now before you listen to Mental Health for Students Part 2. Previously on Future Educators Talk, of America has found that 1 in 8 children are affected by anxiety, yet 80% of those that has a diagnosable anxiety disorder do not receive treatment. And, for those, by going without counseling and medication and other helpful tools for treating anxiety, children are likely to experience long-reaching issues. Anxiety disorders has been on the rise since at least the 1950s. And the studies show that the numbers are expected to continue to rise in the coming years. Anxiety can be part of the childhood if experienced in phases. But with students with continued symptoms often have a treatable anxiety disorder. Like I said again, a lot of things. So here's some stress management in students. So here are the causes for elementary students. So taking important tests. So for example, the EOGs. While most kids don't enjoy taking tests, it becomes an extreme stress in most children, especially for me when I was in elementary/middle school, taking those EOGs, because you fear, because you fear that, I'm not going to do great, or I'm not going to finish in time. And especially if you're like the last one to finish and all your classmates are like staring at you or like looking at you to finish, like hurry up and finish, like we're all done, you're just taking your time, we're all finished. So there's that anxiety. So I felt that anxiety when I was taking my EOGs when I was younger. So I completely understand. Presenting an oral report, so getting up in front of the class is scary for students, especially for the students that are shy. That could be a huge for that, because they worry that they're going to do something embarrassing or become the pure gossip. So we do not want that to happen. PE, dread of being picked last. When classes being divided into teams, or for example, kickball. That could be an example of activity where the class divided into teams and you feel like you're going to get picked last every single time. And also kids often must prove that they met fitness standards in front of the group each week. Kind of like that jealousy almost. You know, staying out in the crowd, so being tardy or eating an unusual looking lunch or not knowing the answer when called on could be, being the center of attention, like on the spotlight, could be stressful for them. Being in danger, school lockdowns, fire drills, tornado drills. Kids are reminded about potential dangers on a regular basis. So, here are some symptoms that that parents / teachers should look for elementary students. Upset stomach, vague aching pains, worrying, anxiety, nail biting, refusing to go to school, crying often, headaches, changes in appetite, nightmares, difficulty sleeping. So those are the symptoms for the students and for elementary students. So for middle school, homework load. The amount of homework students receive in middle school is markedly higher than elementary, with an average of about over 3 hours of homework per night for students with 5 classes. Which me and Demi will be talking about that in the next season about homework. We're going to talk about that. Busy schedules. So for middle schools that are involved in sports or special extracurricular activities. So like if they're participating in clubs or they're doing something at school, finding that downtime can be difficult. Even if you don't have a game, you're gonna have practice, and then on top of that you have homework to do, so that's gonna be a whole lot of stress for them. Peer pressure. So even before middle school begins, students are becoming more about their peers that they think. Which goes with financial worries. Kids that can't afford the hottest brands of clothing or book bags or smartphone that can be left out. The new Nike or the new LeBrons or the new KDs or the new Jordans, all that. So that can feel some stress on them as well. And image concerns. Social media has created a 24-hour day platforms for peer pressure and bullying, which I talked about in the last episode. That problem does not exist for the parents. So they may see something online or like their role model or something, and they'll be like, oh, I want to be that person. So that could be really anxiety or stress for them. So here are the symptoms. So frequent stomach aches and / headaches, chronic worrying, mood swings, sinus sadness / depression, self-harm, frequent absences, quick temper, failing grades, changes in appetite, nail biting, lying to teachers / parents. So look for teachers and parents, look out for that. Retreating to bedroom, fatigue and increased desire to sleep, and yep. And for high schoolers, romantic relationships. Yeah, it picks up in high school, and it causes stress for students, and especially for those that question their sexuality. I've been asked that ever since middle school, so I know that's like a huge stress for me, because it's like, I know the answer, but why they keep on asking me the same question over and over, and they already know the answer. Social acceptance. High school teens, especially those who do not have established that friend group, that group of friends, especially for those during their freshman year, especially transition from middle school to high school. You don't have that same group of friends that you had in middle school, because either some of your friends from middle school has either A, moved from a different school or district, or B, they move to another state. So you don't have that same group of friends that you had in middle school than you do in high school, because they start falling apart. Earning good grades, so keeping grades up to get into college has become increasingly difficult as classes become more challenging. That could be a stress for that, and also preparing for college, because it takes time and effort to decide which college you want to go to. Then you have to complete applications. Then you have to visit schools, and then you have to Then you have to go on interviews, and then on top of that, you have to decide what do you want to do. So you have to decide what major you want to get into. There's a whole lot. So yeah, and also parental pressure. So parents often put the pressure on their child because to excel and get into a good college. At the same time, teens are trying to establish that independence. So parents are trying to get their kids to get good grades so that they can go to college, which is a great thing. But then again, it creates stress for them because they want to make their parents proud, but at the same time, they want to establish that independence. So at the same time, so here are some symptoms: nausea, dissective issues, frequent physical aches and pains, chronic worrying, self-harm, ignoring chores, schoolwork, cutting classes, quick to anger, suicidal thoughts, headaches, skipping meals or overeating, not doing things that used to be fun, sleeping problems, failing grades, isolating from friends and family, and also withdrawal from friends. And of course, for college, maintaining kind of like the same thing to maintaining that high GPA so that you can be on that dean's list, fear of missing out. So balancing social and also academic responsibilities takes time. Lack of sleep as well, missing friends and families, because financial worry, same thing. You feel like that you're not gonna have enough money to continue on to college, and also planning for the future. So like by senior year, it's like you must have a job. By your senior year, by the time you graduate from college, you must have a job. So all that pressure. Uh, so there's that. So here's how teachers can limit student stress. So limit the homework overload. So teachers can work together as a team to avoid piling on too much homework on the same nights or scheduling tests on the same day. Okay. Also, keep kids moving. No matter how old the students are, they can benefit from moving around the room or working at stations or taking stretching breaks. Also play music. Studies shows that music helps people relax and focus. Classical music is great for the classroom and serve as a model for students when they study at home. Me and Damien talked about that a couple episodes ago. Like what type of music that if we were a teacher, what type of music we were like to play while the students are doing their work. And me, I would prefer smooth jazz because that helps me calm and relax and focus. And also, on top of that, most students get their work done faster and they concentrate more if they listen to music. So I think that's a great idea. Also, schedule time to organize. In lower grades, so like elementary and middle, desks can get messy quickly. But for middle school / high schools, lockers can get out of control. So mostly middle schools. Take time out to throw away old papers or sharpen pencils can help students feel more in control. And lastly, listen. Talk about issues that bother students that don't have to take up a lot of instructional time. Even 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, going over concerns, writing them on the board, and addressing them later can help students put them aside. So I think that is a great idea for teachers to limit student stress. For parents, don't go over schedule. Psychologists say teens need time to decompress and develop naturally through non-goal related activities. So lessons, sport teams, and other activities may be helpful when it's time to applying to college, but also should be scheduled around what works best for each child in moderation. So if you have siblings, or if you have other child, make sure the scheduling works for each child, so that it doesn't conflict with the other. Good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Future Educators Talk with Damien and Darren. I'm your co-host, Darren Fret.
And I'm Damien Anderson.
And today's episode is a part 2. Today's episode is a part 2 of mental health for students. If you not listened to part 1 of this mini episode, make sure you head on over to season 1, episode, if I do believe, episode 8, where I talked about mental health for students, and also my thoughts on that. So today's episode is going to be part 2, but only this time it's Damian Anderson's turn to have his view. So So what is your thoughts on mental health for students?
Well, like I've been saying over and over, mental health is very, very important. Very take care of yourself, of your body, because that is extremely important. Um, so according to the I was like looking up, doing some research for the illness for this, and according to the National Alliance on Mental Health, mental illness is a medical condition that disrupts a person thinking, feeling, mood, and ability to relate to others and daily functioning. And also, just as diabetes is a disorder of the pancreas, if I'm saying that correctly, mental illness is a medical condition that often results in a diminished capacity for coping with the ordinary demands of life. So, this is like a whole lot. This like it says this like it really like a whole lot. This can like it's like disrupts a person's like thinking, feelings, moods, like all that. So just like please like this, please like really do like take care of yourself. Like if you're like just like going like through this, like just like slow, like really like slow down, because like you like never like know, just like take a step back, like in life, just like slow down. You don't have to like rush through things all the time. It's okay to um to just step back. So that is that is my thoughts on that so far.
So kind of like what I talked about back in season 1, episode I do believe 8, either 7 or 8, where I talked about my thoughts on mental health for students. And it's crazy that because you have to think of the student's perspective, really, because they have life outside of school.
Yes.
Yeah. They have sports. Some of them have jobs, especially for those that's in high school right now. Some of them have jobs. Then on top of that, they have chores at home that needs to be completed. So it's a great idea to take a step back. And now this doesn't really apply. This also applies for teachers as well.
Yes.
Where we talked about it for mental health for teachers with special guest Miss Hopkins back in season 1. You don't have to say yes to everything. You have to choose your yeses carefully.
Yes. Choose them.
You don't want to be that don't want to be that burned candle,
Mm, yeah,
when you light it. You
yeah,
don't want to. You don't want that.
no.
So it's important to take a step back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Um, yeah, totally agree with you on that. Um, also, um, also serious, um, some serious mental illness includes you have major depression, um,
Mhm.
bipolar depression, um, panic disorder, post traumatic stress disorder, obsessive complex disorder, um, borderline personality disorder. I mean, there's so many. So
Mhm. Yeah, there's so many, and it's unbelievable.
yeah,
Um, you know, unbelievable. Also talked about how some of the schools in different parts of the state, uh, they have exams. The day before exams, they bring puppies in. So I like to see more of that into schools. Um, Probably either later on this year or next year. I like to see more of that into schools.
okay.
Also, I think what they're doing now, if my memory is correct, is that students can get a uh, a mental health day
Yeah.
where they can be absent.
I was, yeah, yes, I was like, um, I was like watching a daytime show where they was talking about that students um can do that, take a day off for that. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Which
Yeah, it's important to take a step back.
yeah. Um so I was thinking so I have a question of um mental how does mental illness affect high schoolers, and um so to me um it can affect them by that meaning of them that they feel to me I believe that they feel afraid to talk about it, what is going on with them, because um, they feel um, like they are crazy, like they're like mentally,
Like, are you out of your mind?
yes,
You
yes,
don't have that.
yes.
Hmm.
So like they're like like mentally crazy. That's what I believe. And so and also um I believe for many high schoolers um this prevents them from finding out how common their struggles are, and also prevents them from receiving the kinds of help that will allow them to get better. So
Hmm.
that's my opinion of that, of how it would affect them, affects the high schooler.
Hmm. Yeah, It's okay to ask for help,
Yes, it is.
especially if you don't know. Um, especially if you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to ask. Um, you know, going back from earlier, where you said that they were afraid.
Yeah.
Uh, kind of like those those sayings that I said earlier. I hear that a whole lot. You don't have that.
Yeah.
You know, oh, you're going through a phase.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh, you don't have that. Like, are you out of your mind? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Those those sayings, those phrases. That those are the reasons why students don't really want to talk about it, because they fear that the parents may say those phrase or
Mm-hmm.
those uh, sayings,
Mm-hmm.
because they're afraid.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Which I get. Absolutely. I really get that.
you know. So, uh, it, yeah, it's important to um, yeah, it's important. Um, you know, especially especially for before testing time as well, because uh, I don't know if I said this already, but I think I did. But in the last in back in season one, I also talked about how uh, a university, William Peace University in Raleigh, North Carolina, they uh, they brought puppies in. I don't know where, but they bring puppies into students during an exam. I think the day before exam time,
Hmm.
so that they won't feel stress uh, during testing time.
Hmm.
So I like to see more of that into schools, and also colleges as well, because exams can be hard, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
especially for the ones um, that are taking the EOGs or the EOCs this year,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I like to see that into school.
Okay. That yeah. Yeah. That would be really interesting to see that. Very interesting. Um, so I also was came across some mental health problems and illness that can affect life at school. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I have some points here. There's you have feeling exhausted and having low energy, um, like
Mm-hmm.
um, like difficulty getting up for school, having trouble, staying awake in class. Uh, Another one is having a hard time concentrating, um, having a hard time getting along socially, um, being easily distracted. That is um, being organized, setting priorities, excessively keeping track of time and your responsibilities.
Mhm.
So another one, you have trouble coping with everyday problems. And the last one is isolating oneself from your families and your friends.
Mhm.
All of these are very true. All of these are the health problems. All of these, which I have most of these on these lists, which yes, are I have like
Mhm.
experienced like quite most of these on these lists. So
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
some of those things that you those problems that you said, I some of those things I do have myself.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I kind of talked about as well. You know, some of see me as a joyful, friendly, happy person,
Hmm.
but really on the inside, there's a whole lot
Yeah.
of stuff that is going and uh, that is going on
Yes.
inside
Hmm.
that y'all don't know.
Yes.
And and I still keep that, keep uh that friendly smile, or that smile on my face every day. But
Yeah.
there's a story behind, there's a problem behind my smile.
Hmm. Right.
So, you know,
Yeah. You're totally right about that.
there's a yeah, so you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
some
Everyone.
like
Oh, go on.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say like, yeah, everyone like who knows me, like they see like I'm always, like happy. They always see this bright smile on my face. I'm just always happy, smiling, but like on the inside, like they don't know like what's, like going on inside of me. So that's
Hmm.
because I always, keep stuff, to myself. So that's
Hmm.
that's it's
Hmm.
just it's just hard sometimes to just very hard sometimes.
Yeah, and a couple months ago, I kind of did a rant, by myself, and I during this rant, I was like, some of y'all don't really know that I have depression, or some of you
Hmm.
don't know that I have anxiety. Um, you know, some of y'all, some of y'all don't know I have these things.
Yeah.
You know, so um, and also I don't like it when I'm forced to talk about something and I
Hmm.
don't want to talk about it. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
like plenty of times, like if I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like that's the end of the road, because what it does is it brings back, uh, I would say, memories, and also it brings back that the depression
Yeah.
is like slowly creeping in,
Hmm.
and you know, every time we say we don't want to talk about it, because we don't want that depression,
Exactly.
you know,
We don't want
to
it to.
creep in. So
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
of it as think of it as a road. You know, you're traveling on the northbound, and depression is traveling on the southbound. Okay, you don't want the depression to swerve into your lane and hit you. That's not. Of course, you don't. You know, you want you and depression traveling on different, on different paths. You don't want them to intersect and, hit you hard.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah. Also, in season 1, episode 8, I also talk about some ways that teachers and parents can spot out like the warning signs
Mm-hmm.
for student slash child. You know, when they have a mental health issue,
Yeah.
either at school or at home. I talk about um, those ways that teachers slash students can um, point those out. So,
Mm-hmm.
I talk about that as well. If you have not listened to the first season, episode 8, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, I think it is season 1, episode 8. Let me check.
It is episode 9, actually.
Oh, so it's episode 9.
Yes.
So I'm one off, but season 1, episode 9. I'll talk about that, so make sure you listen to that. Episode 8
The bullying episode.
was which is kind of bullying and mental health kind of it's kind of like intertwined.
Yeah.
Intertwined. It kind of intersect with each other because it kind of intersects with each other. So that's why I talk about it bullying first and then mental health second, because and this is the other reason why I want to do part 2 of this is because there's just so much more
Mm-hmm.
so much more to this than just part 1.
Yeah.
And also I wanted uh Damien's point of view from it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, talk about this spot. Plus, I talked about some ways that teachers and parents can decrease that anxiety and that depression.
Mm.
Whether it's at school or whether at home.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about some ways that they can decrease that anxiety and that depression. Not everything's going to be full of rainbows. You will have some happy days and you will have some sad days. And then there are some days where you just you don't feel like doing
anything, which
so
I feel like that some days, which is totally fine. I mean, that is totally fine, but hey, it is okay. It really is.
mm-hmm. It's important to it's important to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like you said, you was out for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You were out for 3 weeks because mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You had that depression that slowly creeping in.
Yeah.
That slowly creeping in. And for me, I like to take a step back from this in about in 2 more weeks because, you know, I feel like I'm emotionally drained. And, you know, I'm not really feeling myself. I would, as you can say, I'm not really feeling myself in the past uh, couple of episodes. Not really feeling myself,
Yeah. Which is
not really
totally
feeling myself.
fine. Which is totally fine.
So, you know, so that's why I'm kind of like taking a step back because, you know, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I haven't done a whole lot to this podcast. I feel like I
Yeah.
haven't done a whole lot of research
Mm-hmm.
than than earlier. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I feel like. Like for the past since the premiere of this season, I really enough research than I'm used to back in season one. Season one, I was on my
Yeah.
ball game. You know, I did a whole lot of
Mm-hmm.
research. You know, a whole lot. But now this season, we are right now in our fourth episode of the second season, and right now I feel like I haven't done a whole lot of
Yeah.
research, and you know that's due to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to work. So like earlier, I didn't have work. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't have work. So that's why I feel like you know that's why I feel
You need
like
to like take a
that's why I'm taking.
step back a little bit.
But don't you worry, I'm gonna be gone for 2 episodes. Um, so don't don't cry or anything. But I will be gone for just 2 episodes, just 2 episodes. So those 20th and 22nd are the days that I will not be here. Um, of course, Darian will hold down the fort while I'm gone.
Yes.
We don't know what he will be talking about during those 2 days. But, but, um, he will have a special guest during that week. So, stay tuned later on during this podcast with that announcement. So, um,
Yes.
we know this is kind of like a 30 minute episode. This is for the past two to three episodes. Actually, for the past 2 episodes, our episodes are getting longer,
Yes.
which is great.
Yeah.
Um, which is about an hour. The third episode was about an hour, about 57
Yes.
minutes. The Halloween edition, where I may or may not turn into a preacher on that day. Uh, 56 minutes. So, oh, by the way, I highly, highly suggest that you check out episode 2.
Yes.
You're in for a real treat for that episode. So, make sure you check that out. So anything else to talk about for this part 2 of mental health?
The question of the day for this topic of mental health for the students is what do you feel are the most common mental health problems that students are facing? I gave a quite a little bit of it, but we want to hear what are your thoughts about it. So, again, it is, what do you feel are the most common mental health problems that students are facing? Let us know by using the hashtag Future Educators Talk and Future Educators Talk S2 on Twitter and Instagram.
And make sure you take that's something wrong. Make sure you stay tuned tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Central tomorrow morning, where Kevin Anderson will talk more about this episode, more into depth and um, more into depth about this episode. That's Coffee Talk with Debbie Anderson tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. That's Coffee Talk with Debbie Anderson. So make sure you have your coffee ready, and make sure you have make sure you have your coffee ready. I was thinking something else, but that's later. I was thinking breakfast, but like I have my own, brunch talk.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. My mind is just over the place. So like I said, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central with Copy Talk with Amy Anderson. So make sure you tune in.
Yes.
Come
on. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms on Instagram and Facebook at Future Educators Talk, on Twitter at Future Ed Talk, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Future Educators Talk with Damian and Darren. And make sure to hit that bell to get notified on all new future episodes and more exciting things in the future. Also, follow me on Instagram at the Damian Anderson, because I am the one and only, of course. And also on Twitter at @ Damian Anderson.
And you can follow me, yours truly, Gary Fred here, on Instagram at It's Andrew Brett. Yes, I do worry a lot. And you can follow me on Twitter at Darren_Fret. I forgot to mention, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 10:30 Central, where I will be talking about this episode as well. I'll be going more into depth about this episode. So make sure you tune in. An hour and 30 minutes right after Coffee Talk with Demi Anderson. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. At this time, we are going to do news about this podcast. So far, right now, we have Mr. Luther that will be joining us in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, next week.
Next week?
Yes, next week he will be joining us. Yes, next week he will be joining us on our podcast. And the week after.
Okay. The topics for those 2 weeks has not yet to be determined. Has not yet to be determined. But we will let y'all know sometime later on this week, or yeah, sometime later on this week of 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 the topics for those 2 weeks. So it's very important to follow us on Twitter and on Instagram, and also like our page on Facebook. Yes, like our page on Facebook. So it's very important to follow our social medias, and because you never know what's happening. There's always something new every single day. Well, not really every single day, but there's always something new happening. Yes. So it's very important. Also, next month we have for the first time ever, we're having a guest co-host that will be joining us starting next month. So we're so excited for that.
Yes, we cannot wait to have him on our podcast for the first time ever. Cannot wait.
For the first time ever.
Yes.
Yes. For the first time ever, yes. Of course, there will be no episode on Thanksgiving. No. But we may do a special, like a special message or something. Those advertisements that you see on TV during the football game, like "Happy Holidays" from so and so. Yeah, we might do that. Yeah. I don't know. It's not confirmed. It's not yet confirmed, but we will let y'all know probably again later on this week or next week. So we'll let y'all know. When there's no episode of FET, that means there will be no episode of Coffee Talk with Jamie Anderson, and there's no live episode of Funch Talk. Nope. So just FYI. Yes. Just FYI. Without further ado, so that is it. If I'm not mistaken, Damien might have some more. I don't know.
No, I do not.
Well, without further ado, that is it. That is it. Going to be that. Ooh, back it up. That is it. That is going to be it from us here at Future Educators Talk. Of course, I'm yours truly. Ooh, got a hiccup there. Of course, I'm yours truly, Darren Fritt.
And I am Damien Anderson.
And this is Future Educators Talk with Damien and Darren. We hope you enjoy your rest of your Wednesday afternoon.